So Dragon's Dogma 1 was released in 2012, so it's been 12 years since the game came out. And now while Dragon's Dogma 2 released in a, well, rather unexpected way to say the least, I still played the first game in 2024 to see how it holds up. And well, while my expectations were quite high, Dragon's Dogma 1 was not exactly what I was hoping for. So Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen is an action RPG that throws you head first into a world ravaged by a dragon. And the first thing that we are going to talk about in today's review is the story of the game. And I have to say that the core narrative of the game starts really strong. You know, after a couple of hours into the game, I was extremely excited because it felt like the game and the lore of it was extremely well thought through. You know, while we play the Arisen that has been robbed of its heart, not metaphorically speaking, by a powerful dragon, we kind of get this rebirth for vengeance. And after that we embark on a journey to reclaim our heart. And as I said, I was very looking forward to the game because it really felt like something different. However, I noticed very quickly that the story lost its momentum soon after. You know, while I was playing the game more and more, I noticed that the characters and the people that we meet don't really have a personality. And first off, I thought that it was kind of a coincidence, you know, because we didn't meet any main story characters. But even those, I mean, they're quite emotionless and don't really spark any emotional connection with me. And also the plot, while it starts off very strong, feels very underdeveloped with a lot of crucial details and motivations revealed through these cryptic pronouncements rather than clear exposition. And while the story is one of the most important aspects of a game, I kind of lost the motivation because the objectives felt so meaningless, and all the people that we did meet in the game really only felt like NPCs and not proper characters with backstories, with emotions, and with a relationship towards the Arisen. And in addition to that, there are a lot of side quests in Dragon's Dogma 1, but even those are very often fetch oriented and really fail to provide engaging narratives of their own. And after playing the game, I was really disappointed with the story, and I researched what other people and what the developers said about it. And you know, what I saw was, well, the basic stuff, you know, the developers saying that they didn't have enough budget, that they had a completely different vision. But I mean, that for me are pretty much just excuses. So while Dragon's Dogma really started off in a very strong tone, I noticed very quickly that the story was definitely not one of the best parts of the game. But now let's talk about more pleasant aspects. The gameplay, and the gameplay is really where Dragon's Dogma shines, and especially the combat system of the game. You know, it's really a thrilling mix of action and strategy, and we can even climb onto giant creatures where we have to strategically target specific weak points to topple them from the inside out. And the giant creatures that we do meet look, well, interesting to say the least. I think the people that created those have a very fast fantasy. But I was very pleased with the combat system of the game that's really quite hard to master and quite unforgiving because the enemies do quite a lot of damage. But mastering the combat system and learning new skills and new things that you can do was really a great experience. Another highlight of Dragon's Dogma is the pawn system, where we can recruit AI companions that are created by other players. And these pawns offer tactical support and add a layer of social interaction to the experience. And the pawns are really not just some basic NPCs running after you and doing minor amounts of damage. They really help you in winning battles. You know, I realized very quickly that once I have lost my pawns, the game got extremely difficult, and it was hard to beat a couple of enemies. Because the game is really designed for you to have your 2 or 3 pawns that help you in battle, and especially the pawns that specialize on magic are quite OP. I mean, they do a lot, let me tell you, a lot of damage. You know, while my main pawn was focused on archery, when I was recruiting the magic pawns, I noticed very quickly that those were the guys that actually do all the good stuff. And also, while you do some quests and explore the open world, they really help you and explain some of the things that you see and that you witness. What I would have liked more when it comes to those pawns though was to give them more background and more of a story, you know. We don't really know where they come from, we don't know how we recruited our main pawn. You know, I would have liked a bigger story surrounding those pawns, or maybe that you have to free your main pawn first and, you know, give them more personality, and if not to all of the pawns, at least to your main pawn. For the gameplay though, I was very happy to have them, and they definitely saved my ass one or the other time. And now lastly, I want to talk about the open world. And the world of Grand Seas is vast and visually, well, it looks alright. I mean, it didn't really look outstanding even in 2013, and it didn't really get any updates from that point, so, you know, it has some nice looking landscapes, stuff like that, but it's definitely not a great looking game. But that can also be a good advantage. I mean, it will run pretty much on any potato PC. And to be honest, I had the feeling that the world felt really somewhat underutilized, you know. While there were some points of interest scattered throughout, the vast stretches of quite empty landscapes felt really repetitive after some times, and also the enemy variety is very limited, so you encounter the same enemies over and over again, and that obviously loses the initial thrill after a while. So the open world, I mean, I'm trying to say something good about it, but the open world looks alright, okay? It looks alright. The design of the open world is, well, fine, and I mean that can also be because there is pretty much no fast travel in the open world, and if there is, I didn't notice it, but I talked about that fact a lot in my other videos, that fast travel can really limit the immersion that we feel in the game. But obviously the open world has to be a strong point for us to even talk about the fast travel aspect, because I was sometimes literally running around from the top of the map to the bottom of the map like 5 times in the whole game, which after some time really became quite boring. But I think the open world was also a big aspect that suffered quite a lot under the development issues back in the day, because a lot of the planned content that they had sounded very interesting, but I mean, they can say whatever they want. What we got in the end was definitely not an outstanding open world, and there are definitely other games that make exploration and visiting the whole open world way more fun. And while the soundtrack of the game was definitely also a strong point, which would have made the exploration and the whole scenes and the story way more engaging, I just felt like the base of the game pretty much was lacking. Okay, so now after spending 60 hours in Dragon's Dogma 1, what is my final review of the game? Let me tell you, if you're looking for good story and graphics, this game might disappoint you. The story loses its momentum very quick, and the characters and people that you do meet have a very flat personality and do not really spark an emotional connection, and the graphics are also not a strong point of Dragon's Dogma. I know the game is 12 years old, but even for a game that came out in 2012 or 2013, it didn't look outstanding, and it definitely doesn't today. However, Dragon's Dogma also features some great aspects, especially the combat system is a thing that surprised me very much, and it's really where Dragon's Dogma 1 shines. And also the pawn system was a great highlight that I loved seeing in the game. And when it comes to the financial aspect and the price of the game, you can literally get a key for Steam for $4. So for 60 hours it's basically nothing. But now we just have to talk about, is it worth spending 60 hours, and was it worth for me to spend as much time in the game? Probably not. As I said, while it had some highlights and some great aspects, I was quite disappointed that the story and the lore was so stale, especially after the strong beginning of the game, and also the open world and the graphics aren't breathtaking. So from a financial aspect, it's definitely worth it spending $4 on a game like that. It's just really not worth the 60 hours that you have to spend in order to complete the side quests and the main quest. Alright guys, and now I'm interested in your opinion on Dragon's Dogma 1. And if you have played it and if you're thinking about playing it, write your opinion down in the comments and how you viewed the game. And as I said in my last video, Dragon's Dogma 2 is definitely a game that I will have to wait for a sale to play it, especially after the whole thing with the microtransactions and, well, all the other stuff. We talked about that at length last week. As I said, Dragon's Dogma 1 definitely is an okay game, but still quite disappointing for what I was expecting. Alright guys, that was it from me in today's video. I wish you all an amazing day. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.